the May 16th, 2023 Hutchinson City Council meeting. Please call roll.
Garza.
Here.
Conklin.
Here.
Fast.
Here.
Goss.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next
Pledge of
item.
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe we have Ms. Kim Beery giving our prayer today. Thank you.
Let us pray together. Living God, thank you for the many blessings that surround us. May your presence and provisions rain down upon us like the gentle rain we have enjoyed this week. Lord, lead and direct today's meeting and give our leaders wisdom. May personal agendas be set aside and all voices heard as we work together for the good of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 4A, a proclamation for National Public Works Week.
We have some representatives joining me up here. Thank you. Good morning. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Hutchinson, Kansas. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Hutchinson, Kansas to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association, now, therefore, I, John Richardson, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. And I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Would either of you like to say something?
Yeah, sure. Good morning. My name is Brian Clynn, and I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Hutchinson. And just like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the council for that proclamation that recognizes the 80 public works professionals that we have working here to make normal happen for the City of Hutchinson. This year's National Public Works poster, which is up there on the screen, Connecting the World Through Public Works, I think it does a good job of highlighting the way public works professionals connect and serve our communities. Everything from operating and maintaining all the infrastructure that makes that everybody relies on every day, to responding to emergencies. And those emergencies range from responding to wildfires, to responding to ice storms, water main breaks, sewage backups, and then working to get the community back to normal as quickly as possible. With me today is Cecil. He is a street supervisor in our street division, and he's currently acting as the interim street superintendent. He started with the street division 23 years ago as an equipment operator and has worked in every aspect of the street division, as well as responding to numerous emergencies to help this community. Cecil's going to share just a little bit about his experience in serving the community through public works.
Been through numerous fires outside of town and helping with the fire department with that. So, and then some good things. I mean, a lot of events that's happened in Hutch that we help with, the basketball tournaments, the state fair every year and all that. So a lot of us got together along with Brian and stuff this week. So some videos have been made. They're going to be put on the city's Facebook page for each stuff work going on. So, and then this Thursday at the Third Thursday event, we're going to have a booth set up. We're going to have some equipment there for people to see, kind of putting on a demonstration. Some of our guys been practicing a little bit. They're actually going to have some blocks, and they're going to stack with a couple of big pieces of equipment to show everybody how the equipment works in a setting a little safer than actually out what we would be doing. So, and then that's, like I said, we're just kind of getting together and making sure the guys are appreciated and everybody knows that we're the ones that nobody wants to see us out in the streets, but they want us out in the streets. So,
Well, thanks for your
Appreciate
work,
it.
Cecil.
Thank you.
and
Thank you very much.
The other 79.
Next item, please.
Item 4B, a proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week.
It's gonna be a lot of handshaking. Yeah. Good morning. Now I'm going to mess up. All right. Whereas from the beginning of this nation, law enforcement officers have played an important role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms which are guaranteed by the Constitution and in protecting the lives and property of our citizens. And whereas through constant application of new procedures and techniques, such officers are becoming more efficient in their enforcement of our laws, and it is important that our citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police departments and the necessity for cooperating with them in maintaining law and order. And whereas it is fitting and proper that we express our gratitude for the dedicated service and courageous deeds of all law enforcement officers and for the contributions they have made to the security and well-being of all of our citizens, and whereas the President of the United States has designated May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week during which such May 15th occurs as Police Week. Now therefore I, John Richardson, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby designate May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. I also designate the week of May 15th through May 20th, 2023 as Police Week in recognition of the service given by the men and women who, night and day, protect us through enforcement of our laws, and I invite all citizens of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas to observe Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week with appropriate ceremonies in which all our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and securities of all citizens. Someone want to say something?
Very good. Good morning. I'm Captain Dayton Gates, the Hutchinson Police Department. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, community, for the proclamation. On behalf of the officers of the Hutchinson Police Department, including civilian staff, we'd like to thank everyone for coming. We appreciate all the continued support we've received, especially over the last few years. Every officer, especially the one standing behind me, get into law enforcement for personal reasons. But I assure you, the main objective is to make Hutchinson safer. They put on a badge before every shift, and they kiss their families goodbye, and they have accepted the fact that they may not return to their families at the end of that shift. They miss birthdays, holidays, kids' events. They sacrifice their own family time to help your guys' families. Fortunately, most officers will make it home to their families after every shift, but unfortunately, there are some tragic circumstances where those officers will pay the ultimate sacrifice and die in the line of duty. I would also like to take this opportunity to mention the unsung heroes of the Hutchinson Police Department, the civilian staff, secretaries, evidence custodians, dispatchers, records technicians. All of them are vital to keeping our department running efficiently and correctly. Again, I want to just take the opportunity on behalf of all of us to thank the community for the overwhelming support. It motivates our officers to keep moving forward, and it reminds them of what their main objectives are by keeping the community more safe. So thank you.
Would anyone else like to say anything? Who would like to accept this? Will you accept it?
I will accept it.
Well, here, listen.
I'll do all of it.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're good. You're good.
Next item, please.
Item 5, oral communications from the audience.
All right, this is the portion of our meeting that we open up the podium to oral communications from the audience. We ask that you please limit your remarks to 5 minutes and to items that are not on the agenda. If you come up to the podium, please state your name and address.
Good morning. I'm Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. I just wanted to invite everyone out on June 3rd. We are hosting a river cleanup in Cary Park. We're doing this in partnership with CAWS, which is Kansas Alliance of Wetlands and Streams, as well as Cargill. We'll be meeting at 10 o'clock in the parking lot behind Stremmel softball fields. Our hope is to clean up both sides of the riverbank from the entire length of Cary Park, from Highway 50 all the way down to the bridge into South Hutch. So we do ask people register if possible through the Facebook page, through CAWS. We'll have some free goodies for folks who show up through a generous donation through Cargill. So again, Saturday, June 3rd, 10 a.m. to noon in Cary Park. So thanks.
Thank you.
Tony Finley, Executive Director, Hutchinson Recreation Commission. Just wanted to give you an update on the opening of Salt City Splash for this season. If you'll remember, last year at this time, I came pleading for lifeguard applications. We are ahead of where we were last year in as far as recruitment goes, but we'll definitely not have enough to maintain a full year. If you'll recall, last year we came at the last 3-4 weeks of the season and announced that we'd have to close Mondays. We just had pushed staff too far. We're sitting at those same numbers that we were last year, and it appears that applicant pool is dried up. But the ones in the system, we can't open the splash for the season. We'll open Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, May 27th. But with the exception of Memorial Day, we will be closed Mondays for the season. We're going to have to give staff a day off, and we don't have the numbers to rotate to give them the day off like we need to make sure that the lifeguards are fresh and safe and doing their job. So we'll be closed to the public, but we will still be open for like the YMCA swim team in the morning. We'll have some adult or youth aquatic fitness classes. We'll have some other things on Monday that don't require the same amount of guards, lifeguards, but we will be closed to the public Mondays for the season. Part of what we hope will be accommodating is we will stay open later on Fridays, so we'll stay open to 8 p.m. on Fridays instead of closing at our normal 6:30 p.m. So we hopefully families can enjoy that evening swim on Fridays, and that'll be throughout the season as well. So happy to answer any questions on what this season looks like.
Will this all be on the Hutch Rec Facebook page? And
Correct. Yeah. After today, it all gets out. We wanted to make sure we had this conversation first. We were really just holding out hope that we could get to that 32 lifeguards, but we're setting at 24. We need about 26. We got 2 in certification, so I think we're going to get there. But that's all the applicants. There is no more. And it's like last year, every city's struggling. You've seen it on the news. It's not just a Hutchinson problem. There are lifeguard shortages across the country. So it is what it is at this moment in time.
So it's the only day off is closed on Mondays. The weekends are open too, right?
Correct. Yeah, we'll be open 6 days a week. It'll just be Mondays. Mondays is our lowest attended day, with the exception of the Boys and Girls Club on Monday. If you take their attendance out, we were only averaging 100 to 150 public swimmers anyway. On Mondays, we visited with the Boys and Girls Club, and they're going to, they'll come a different day. So that's not an issue. So Mondays is by far our lowest attended swim day, with the exception of Memorial Day, which will be open Memorial Day.
I was going to ask if like Bueller and some of the other cities were having the same issues. You kind of answered that. Is there any opportunity for like sharing of lifeguards? Do any of your lifeguards work at other pools or anything like that?
No, so Bueller, we only need 8 guards for there, so we're a small pool, so we're fine at Bueller. We visited with the Y, they're struggling as well. We have an idea for a share, but we just don't have enough to share at this point. I need all of mine, the YMCA needs all of theirs, and so we're just in a tough spot.
I saw the Y was pulling from staff from Wichita.
Yeah.
Wichita.
Yeah.
pulls.
So it's, there was a news article about some of the other communities in Wichita struggling, and it's not just Kansas. It's across the country where it's not quite as bad as last year. Some pools didn't even open last year due to this. It's better than that, but it's not all the way back. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else want to step up, public comment? All right, next item, please.
Item 6, consent agenda.
Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second that.
Motion a second. Any other comments? Please take roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7A, public hearing for the water service line inventory and replacement plan project.
Do we hear from Brian before we take a motion?
You need a motion to open the public
Okay,
hearing.
I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
A motion a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Brian Clinton. I'm the Director of Public Works. With me today is Richard Buller, who is our Water and Sewer Maintenance Superintendent, and he's going to be handing out the sign-in sheets. This is a public hearing, so we need to document who all attended this public hearing. It's a requirement of applying for this loan, for the SRF loan. So today, we're going to be discussing the revised lead and copper rule, which focuses on water service lines. And I've got a diagram that shows what the water service line looks like, just so we're all on the same page. So you can see this is what we would call the water main. And then the water service line hooks up to the water main, feeds a meter, and then from the meter, it feeds into the home. And so we've got a public side, which the public owns and takes responsibility for, which is from the meter to the main, and then we've got a private side, and that goes from the meter to the entry point into the house, would be considered the owner's responsibility. So just a little bit about the lead and copper rule. Right now, the revisions aren't fully in effect. We're preparing for these revisions. But right now, there's a lead and copper rule that requires that we collect 30 samples from across our community every 3 years. And then we analyze those samples for lead and for copper. The lead limits today are 15 parts per billion. And the last time we sampled was in 2021. We had one sample that exceeded the 15 parts per billion. So we took a little closer look at what was going on there, and the service lines themselves were not lead. And what we found was the issue was it was a very underutilized sink, something that they hadn't been using very often. So the plumbing and the faucet themselves led to the contribution of the lead in that particular amount, in that particular sample. We were still under the reporting requirements. You've got to make sure that no more than 10% of your samples exceed that 15 parts per billion. That was the only sample that we had out of the 30 that exceeded that. And really the majority of all the samples were under 2 parts per billion. As far as the copper limits go, it's 1,300 parts per billion is the limits for copper. We had no exceedances in 2021, and the average was around 100 parts per billion. So in 2021, the EPA revised the lead and copper rule. And really the changes are due to the issues that they had in Flint, Michigan with some lead in their water. And the primary goal of these revisions is to protect public health and especially child development. One of the big changes as a result of these revisions is it's going to require the city to develop an inventory of all of our service lines to identify where lead service lines are located. So we need to identify the material on the public side over here. We also need to identify what the material is on the private side. The other thing that it's going to require us to do is once we complete that inventory and we know where the lead services are located, we have to develop a replacement plan and make sure that we're replacing those lead service lines in a certain period of time. And it's not only on the public side, but it's also on the private side as well. We've got to come up with a plan for both of those. So now I want to focus a little bit more on the water service line inventory. KDHE has said that this is going to be a monumental task for local utilities to complete. And they are out there to help us, and they're providing a lot of support and education about how this process needs to go. They've developed a spreadsheet so that all the different utilities throughout the state are supplying them the same information. This spreadsheet has 20 columns of data that's required for each service. And just to give you an example of some of the information that they're wanting us to collect on each service, of course, the water main material, the service line material on both the public and private side, the size of the service line. They want to know if the public service line has ever been lead. So we may have replaced our public side service line 30 years ago, and it's either copper, maybe it's plastic. What was it before we replaced it? So it's a records research, and hopefully we've got some information. We might not, and that becomes an issue. We also are going to try to collect what the plumbing material is inside each home and the year that plumbing was installed. So all of this information is due to KDHE on October 16th of 2024. And the city has approximately 16,500 services to collect this information on. To date, we have been sending our water maintenance staff out to look at what the material is on each side of the meter, on the public side and the private side, and we've gone through about 9,700 meters so far. So we've made some pretty good progress on that. However, KDHE wants to know what the material is, not only in the meter pit, but at the entry point into each home. And that's a huge concern that I have. So we need to know what the material is at that point. So in order to help us through this process, we are going to hire consultants to help us do that. It's estimated to cost to complete this inventory about $350,000 is what we've got budgeted. So that project is going to include, of course, data collection, then a review of that data. So that data looks at building records, it looks at our old tap orders, any historic knowledge that our maintenance staff has. We'll be doing interviews, the consultant will be doing interviews with them. They'll review all that data and then identify, okay, where do we need to go get some field information? And that field information may be going and knocking on doors and seeing if we can get into the homes of folks and see what that service line material is coming into the home. It's going to be asking our community to provide some of that information for us that would really help us out. And it may involve us hydro-excavating right at the foundation of the house so that we can identify what the material of that particular service line is. Our consultant's also going to be developing a GIS-based inventory so that we will have this on the city website and so that all of our customers can go to that map and they'll be able to go to their home or their daycare or their school and they'll be able to know what that material is. Or maybe they won't be able to know because we don't know. So it's just it's a public information tool, piece and component of this project. Then, of course, the field investigation, which is going to be very time consuming. is included in this project. And then another very important piece is strategic communications. Again, we're going to need community engagement to help us gather all the information that we need for this project. And so figuring out how we can get the community involved and engaged in helping us and being a partner with us to complete this project is going to be very critical. And then finally, once we know and have completed that inventory, the final piece of that is developing that lead service line replacement plan. So funding for this project is the State Revolving Loan Fund. 49% of that loan will be forgivable because the city's poverty rate is higher than the state's average. So the city's going to need to pay back $178,500 of that $350,000 loan. And with that, I'd open it up for any questions from the public or the council or comments as well.
Thank you. I have questions.
Okay.
All right, so stage one is investigating what we have in our inventory. Do you see any issues trying to convince people to get into their house to see what their water line is coming in?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think there would be a way for people to take pictures of their incoming water line and submit it rather than allowing people into their house?
Absolutely, and that's that engagement piece. And the more we can get our customers to help us complete this project, the better off we'll all be.
Because where my water line comes in is the laundry room, and I have two little ones, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
I don't need people in there.
Right.
Then the second stage is how to address. So if it is between the meter and the house, and there is items that need to be replaced, that will be on the owner's responsibility to replace those items that are lead contaminating or copper.
Right. So that is the owner's responsibility. There is funding available for, again, a 49% forgivable loan. So that's something that we need to discuss as to whether the city wants to take on the responsibility for replacing the lead service lines or those service lines from the meter to the home and from the main to the meter.
Typically, is there a general rule of thumb on when the water service on new construction changed to modern materials?
What year?
Yeah, ballpark.
Yeah, 1988.
88. So if your house was built prior to, let's say, 1990, you should really be concerned on looking at what you might have.
Mm-hmm. That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 1988 's when lead was officially banned by the state of Kansas.
Okay. There's a lot to try to navigate here on developing a program here.
Yeah.
Would it be safe to say that a property owner would be able to submit a water sample instead of agreeing to an inspection? Would this show up in a water sample from the tap or something?
No, hopefully not. So this is
Yeah, hopefully not.
because so we got corrosion control at our water treatment plant, and that's the key component to preventing lead from getting in. I mean, other than not having a lead service line, but making sure that our water is not corrosive, where it, pulls that lead out and gets it in the water. And so that's why we've got such good results in our lead and copper sampling, is because we have good corrosion control at our treatment plant. So the sample wouldn't be good enough to identify whether there's an issue or not.
Yeah, I believe part of the problem in Flint was they changed the water source, and then it became up to a point where the water was bad, and that began to make the pipes leach, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, they changed the source from Detroit water system to a river, and the river water was more corrosive, and they didn't have a plan for increasing the pH so that it wasn't corrosive. Yeah.
So if a home or a line is deemed to have a lead pipe, is that something that if the home or the property is going to be sold or exchanged hands, that they would be required to disclose, being as it would be a cost to the homeowner?
I don't know disclosure rules for real estate transactions.
Okay.
I know my son just bought a home in Salina, and that was the first thing I asked him. I said, "Do you know what the material is?" So they've got a little baby. So I was very concerned about that. Yeah.
Okay. And that goes for everything inside the house, not just up to the shut-off valve.
Right. So this project is mainly the inventory is focused on up to the foundation of the house. One thing that they would like to know is the material inside the house. I don't think that's as critical.
And we don't feel that just a clear picture of looking in the meter pit would tell us what we
Right.
need going to.
It
the house.
provides us a lot of good information, but it's not the ultimate picture, because I know when we've replaced water meters, we've had to do some spot replacement of the galvanized line, for example, to go find a good piece to hook onto. So, yeah.
Okay.
I got a question. Is there any enforcement if
Please,
they don't?
please come up to the podium, sir, if you have questions or comments as the public. It's a public hearing.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and
Yeah,
address.
Brian Davis, 11 South Main. The owner's responsibility, what if they don't take care of that? Enforcement.
So if they don't want to replace the line, is that the question?
Yeah.
Right. And so I know there are communities that are taking on the responsibility to just going ahead and replacing that. And in order to qualify for that 49% forgivable loan from KDHE, I think the utility does have to take on that responsibility and go ahead and replace that. So, but I can't commit, obviously, we'll need some direction from the council.
What do you mean by that last statement? That
Yeah.
the utility has to, so are you saying that if we agree to do this, we are then in
Not-
essence agreeing to replace all those lines? Or-
No, not for the inventory piece of it, but so we could apply for lead replacement loan, like a lead service line replacement loan. And that would be 49% forgivable. But in order for that to be forgivable, the utility needs to take ownership and replace the private side as well as the public side.
And most of our housing stock is pre-1988, so that you're talking about a significant, huge expense.
Yeah. Now,
I just mean,
I can tell you, out of those 9,700 meters that we've looked at, we haven't found any lead in the meter pit themselves. But we have found quite a bit of galvanized, about 1,700 lines of galvanized, and that becomes an issue if we can't prove that we never had lead upstream of that galvanized line. That means we might have to replace that galvanized line.
For now, we're trying to get the loan for just investigating what our situation is.
Right.
And then we can come up with a game plan
Yeah,
for.
we are not making any further commitment than just, okay.
that's correct.
Investigate.
That's correct, yeah. But we will have to develop a plan on how we're going to replace these lead service lines, and we will be required to replace a certain percentage of them every year.
Okay.
My problem is the consultant. We can't take our 300-some thousand for a consultant, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
We can't do it ourselves somehow? That's a lot of money for just a consultant. Tell me what the consultant's gonna do for $300-some thousand.
Yeah, so a big piece of that is that field investigation and this public communication and engagement piece is probably the biggest piece of that. And then, of course, the data collection. There's going to be some statistical analysis. So we're not going to have to dig up 16,000 services. So what they're going to do is look for similarities amongst home builders. Was it the same builder? Was it built at the same time? So if we know we can verify what one like home's material is, then there's a statistical analysis that they can run to prove that, okay, all the homes that were built by this home builder in this time frame will have the same materials, and KDHE will accept that. So there's a bunch of analysis like that that will be done.
So would the loan, would this cover the 300-some thousand, or that's out of our budget?
No, so because 49% of that 350,000. So the city is going to be need to pay 178,500.
That's what we would be paying.
That's correct. Yes,
So that would help with the consultant too, correct?
that is to pay for the consultant.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the only thing that bothers me. We have consultants all the time, and we pay it all the time for consultants. And sometimes I think we should try to do some stuff ourselves. I mean, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but I can tell you we don't have the staff time to take on this project and do it in-house.
And this has a completion date of October of 2024.
That's correct, yes.
And the consultants that I assume you've spoke with, some or done an RFI or any steps towards that, they've said that this is something that could be completed on time?
Yeah, we've selected a consultant,
Okay.
and we're beginning the negotiation of developing the scope and the fee at this point in time.
Okay. And are they doing the same work in any cities around us or of similar size or anything like that?
Not in Kansas. I believe they're working for the City of Lee Summit right now, and then they've done some on the coast as well. It seems like the coasts have kind of started this process before anybody in Kansas has. But
I would imagine that as other communities in Kansas are going through the investigation process, there's going to be pressure on the state to come up with more incentives on fixing problems for homeowners, other than just the city utility taking over responsibility of it and trying to get 49% back.
I would imagine there's some cities that have absolutely no ability to take on a project like this in Reno County as well, because we're just talking about the city of Hutch. I mean, I can think of like Pretty Prairie, for instance. They don't have the funds to take on projects like this.
yeah, and yeah, going into having to replace these water service lines, you're probably looking at $5,000 to $10,000 per service line.
This was an EPA from the federal government or from the Kansas government?
It was an EPA.
Yeah.
I mentioned, she said there's a deadline. There's a deadline we have to get this done.
Yes, October of 2024.
And if we don't meet this deadline, they put a penalty on us or what?
I don't know, Steve. Yeah, it's. I'm sure that there would be something, but my plan is to meet that deadline, though.
It would possibly impact the loan forgiveness, I would imagine, since that's what it's directly tied to.
Right. Yeah.
This is a public hearing. Anyone else in the audience have something to comment on this at this time? Would you like to come up to the podium and comment, please? State your name, please, and address.
Alice Vanette, Hutchinson News, 2nd Avenue, Hutchinson. I have a question about choosing the consultant. Did you look at Kansas consultants? Where is your consultant from?
Thank you.
Sure, we did. Yes, we looked at Kansas consultants as well as some folks that have national representation. Our consultants located in Kansas City, Missouri, is the consultant that we ended up selecting. We got 6 qualification statements that we reviewed. We interviewed 3 firms, and we selected based on those qualifications.
Any more questions for Mr. Clennon?
Mr. Mayor, this is just a hearing. Do we decide this today or is just a hearing?
This is a public hearing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is a public hearing. The next step will be to pass a resolution that authorizes us to submit an application for the loan.
That would be the next,
Okay.
after the hearing is closed.
Yeah.
Any more comments or questions from the public?
I do have one last thing. If somebody was unable to make it to this public hearing, can they reach out to you with additional questions, or who would be the point of contact?
Yes, they can give me a call.
I know where you live.
All right.
And just to reiterate, because I think, so I have a baby who drinks formula and we use water. We don't use tap water, we use bottled water. But so you're saying that our water is completely safe to drink and consume and swim and all of those things right now. There's no immediate threat or danger, and this is simply spot checking to make sure that there is no danger in the future.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good reiteration, yeah. Good idea. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing if there's nothing else.
I move.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. All right, now we have an action item on whether to approve or not approve the resolution authorizing the completion of an application to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund, and authorize me to sign. Any questions or comments on this action?
I have a question. If we do not motion and approve this today, and let's say that we push this off for 2 weeks from now, would that delay in the hiring and coming to an agreement with the consultants, and would that impact our possibility of meeting the deadline?
No.
Okay. So if we delayed, it would possibly allow more time for additional public input or public questions.
Right. Yes, it would.
I'm not sure, Stacy, why we'd want to delay it. It's a federal mandate. And we want safe drinking water. I love these unfunded mandates that come down, or partially funded mandates. This is a very wet slope we're going down, pun intended.
Yeah.
I agree. I see no reason to delay it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very offensive to me that that's being jammed down our throats. I mean, but I don't see that we have apparently any option here, and this is the best thing we can come up with, and we're not going to be any better position in 2 weeks or a month or anything else. But
Sure.
our problem should be with the EPA for this kind of a,
I agree, Stuart. We're not
Yeah.
shooting the messenger, Brian.
No, we're not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And we do want
right.
good water, and we're thankful
Well,
for the
no,
good
yeah.
water we have here. That is one thing about Hutchinson. We have very good drinking water.
We do.
I think I would be more concerned when we get to the actual action item of what needs to be done after the investigation.
Mhm. Yes.
We get as much word out there and prepare people as much ahead of time on what might happen, because they can think about how old their house is and what they might need to be prepared for.
Mhm.
I think that would be really important.
Yeah, and that inventory is kind of that base foundation. We got to know how big the issue is, and that's going to lay the foundation for our next steps.
And the government will tell us what our next steps are?
Yes, they have already laid
Oh,
out
they have already.
what the next steps are.
And that
yeah.
is replacing.
That's
They've
right.
decided what our
Coming up.
decisions will be.
Well, with that, I move to approve a resolution authorizing the completion of an application to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund, and authorize the mayor to sign.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I do. I just want the public to know, your commissioners have hard decisions every day to make. I was black hair when I came here, look at me now. So we do make hard decisions, so.
And my only concern is that this creates a possibility, even just the fact finding that we intend to do, this creates a possibly unfunded liability to the homeowner. And even if the utility does then go in and replace what is labeled here as owner's responsibility, it's going to come back on us one way or another through higher rates or fees or what have you. Special assessments, I don't know what options they all have, but that's my only concern.
I think that our angst should be directed towards the EPA, and we certainly are not alone in this sort
Right.
of. I mean, like we said, there's others, many across the nation that will be worse off than we are. So it's just a ridiculous. And we all care about clean water. That's all really important. That's I mean
That's a given.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a given. But this kind of is just. It's unacceptable. I mean, that needs to be, that's where our that's where that's where all of the fight should be against that and against them, and we will be joining a fight. We won't be alone in that fight. There will be many others that will be pushing for that. Hopefully, and most likely it will get watered down and or delayed significantly, because people can't, the community can't come up with answers like this in that kind of time frame, and this kind of liability. I mean, it's huge. It's not, it's not workable.
I can tell you where my head goes. Would it be cheaper to provide a water test once a year for 16,000 water meters? and say we're good and track that? I mean,
Sure. Sure. This is madness. You know, I mean, it's being forced on us. I don't mean this is his idea. I mean, this is being forced on us. But it's,
And as Brian said, that it doesn't show in the water that's coming out of the tap because of the treatment that we're already providing and the pH treatment that we're doing at the plant. So our water is not leaching from the pipes per se, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. So the tests would not reveal an increase in lead unless there's a bad something in the house, a bad water fixture, faucet.
is that correct, what she said? I mean, I understand that we're getting water out of wells in the streams, but aren't we concerned with what we're, the end user? Isn't that what this is all about?
Right, and so we treat the water to make sure that it's not corrosive that's going into the distribution system. And that's, if a corrosive water leaches out the lead that's in the system, and that's how the lead gets in the water that people would consume. So if you do end up having some lead hits that are greater than that 10% that I had mentioned, then you have to begin looking at corrosion control treatment at your plant. So we don't have that issue in Hutchinson because we already have corrosion control treatment in place with our reverse osmosis water treatment system.
What's the cost if we don't do anything? What's the EPA going to fine us?
I don't know.
Just curious.
I could do some research if you'd like me
just throw that out there.
to find out. Yeah.
All the information.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, please call.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin,
yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 8A, consider resolution approving a special event in a designated entertainment district for the Fox Theater birthday celebration.
Paul Brown, City Attorney. We're going to talk about a celebration instead of dirty water. And it's for the Fox Theater. It's on June 3rd. It's going to be right out in front of the Fox, right out in the street in front of the Fox for their birthday celebration. The entertainment district is necessary because they want to serve alcoholic beverages there. Otherwise, we just be blocking off the street. That's what this is for. And I was in the Fox, and I can't remember which birthday celebration it is. I want to say 75, but I'm not sure. It's at least that, I would think. So we would ask the council to approve that.
Any questions for Mr. Brown? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the resolution authorizing the Fox Theater birthday celebration June 3rd as a special event pursuant to City Code Section 18-801 at sequence. Authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion? If not, please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes, next item, please.
Item 8B, consider resolution of support for the submission of an MIH ARPA Moderate Housing Grant application for the Hutch Landmark Project.
Good morning, Council. Jim Seitnader, Interim Planning and Development Director. So I can't tell you how excited and thankful I am to be here this morning on this subject. And for a long, long time, a really important building in our downtown area and in our community has stood in a blighted fashion and got worse and worse and worse. A couple of real personal heroes, Laura Meyer Dick and Mike Dick, has done something wonderful for the community in acquiring this property, and got an exciting project ahead, and I'd like to introduce them and let them tell you about the project, and then I would like to come back and ask your support of two important resolutions.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I am Laura Meyer Dick, and this is my husband Michael over here. And after much research, I was working on the downtown master plan with the Chamber and the Community Foundation. I kept looking at the landmark and knew that something had to be done to it with it if we were going to be successful in redeveloping and even further invigorating downtown. Downtown's come a long way since I moved back in 2001, but this beautiful old building has become blighted and a tremendous eyesore for downtown. I know we all look at the front door and see if the plant is still growing or not growing. I can't get to it at the moment because the floor is missing on the inside and I don't have the key to that lock. People keep asking me when I'm going to remove it, but so I started the research and I teamed up with an architect, and then I met a developer out of Atchison who's done several of these historic projects, and Justin Pergot of Pomeroy Development, and he is an amazing gift. I got introduced to him by 2 different people, and it was obviously I needed to meet him because he's going to make this project happen for me. I'm just the local feet on the ground. It sits in the center of our downtown, and everyone knows, been driving by it since 2014, saying, when is somebody going to do something with that building, especially Councilman Fast, who drives by it and looks at it every day. So we pulled together a plan to put in 38 to 44. We're still tweaking the plan, moderate to market rate apartment, workforce apartment on the 2nd through the 5th floor. The main floor will be commercial. Our hopes are for a downtown restaurant that we can add to that district with the brewery across the street. It will kind of become an entertainment district. The total project is $11 million. The building is very blighted on the inside. Brent England with Engineering Consultants has teamed up with me to kind of structurally look at the building. It has some issues on the back northwest corner that we're working on getting shored up this summer, as well as Ray and Son Roofing will be replacing the roof this summer because we've got a few unintended skylights and leaks in the building. It did come with free pigeons and pigeon feathers. So it's an $11 million project between 38 to 44 studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments on the 2nd to the 5th floor. Even with the state and federal tax credits, there was a huge gap when I built out the model to see if it would cash flow and we could make this project work. So I'm here today asking the council's support for MIH ARPA Moderate Housing Grant and the advancement of the Rural Housing Incentive District and an IRB to support the revitalization of the landmark. It's very similar what you did for Jim Strawn's project out in the Plum Creek area, but this will not require any new infrastructure that will be a liability for the city to support. We are hoping that once we get this building redeveloped, that it will create a ripple effect for further development and in the center of our city. And so that is what we're asking your consideration for today. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
I have a question. Can you define for us what a workforce apartment means in terms of what's the approximate rent?
Sure. Workforce apartment, you would think teacher, nurse. I know the chamber's working on with some, I don't know exactly, companies coming in that we're going to hopefully add more jobs. Moderate income is up to, and I'm pretty close on this, $90,000 for a couple of 2, and moderate income rates are 30% of that. Moderate income rates are pretty much what you can absorb market rate here in Hutchinson.
Okay.
So.
Do you have a proposed timeline that you're trying to hit on this?
Yes. So the deadline for this grant is June 2nd. It's the last round of the MIH ARPA funds. After that, we can apply for up to $2.5 million in MIH ARPA and Kansas Housing Investor Tax Credits. After this round that's due June 2nd, it will drop down and it will only allow you to apply for 1.8. And the model on this is very thin. It's not going to be a highly profitable project. It will cash flow. It will work. You'll be able to pay off the debt on it while you have the RHID, but we really need to get the application in June 2nd in order to take advantage of the ARPA funds that are still on the table. And hopes to be open, active, and renting August of 25. the commercial floor before that.
Is renting the commercial floor, are those funds, or I guess is the rest of the project dependent on receiving market value for the commercial floor at a sooner date? Did that make sense? Like, do you have to start making money on
No.
the ground floor in order to fund the rest of the
But
project?
some of the grants that we have applied for, we've applied for the HEAL grant, and I turned in the City of Hutchinson ARPA Housing Infrastructure Grant, and those will be used to shore up the building from further decay this summer. Those require to be spent and the building in operation sooner. So when the Main Street people were here on Thursday, I guess it's just the HEAL grant, they want to see that begin the bottom floor in operation and rented.
Okay.
And Jim checked with city staff, and they would give us a temporary occupancy permit to get that first floor going while we were finishing. Obviously, we'd have most of the upstairs done, just would be finish work.
Okay.
It's an aggressive timeline. I like
You know how
it.
construction projects work?
Yeah.
But no, we'd really like to get it in operation by 2025. That's dependent on how slow the state and federal tax credits are to work with. The building will definitely qualify for those, but I've heard they're pretty backlogged and they're very slow to work with. So,
Well,
other questions?
thank you for your investment in downtown.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, as Laura explained, it will be a complex project. She's assembled a wonderful team. I've got all the confidence in the world this is going to happen and be very similar to what the Wiley building turned out to be. And so excited. Parts of the steps that we need your help on this morning are 2 resolutions. The resolution to support the moderate income ARPA application. The money, like in the Strawn case, the money will come to the city, and then these are what's called developer-led projects, and then a development agreement and things will be worked on between the 2 parties and spell out how everything is going to work from there. So I would encourage you to approve this resolution of support for the moderate income ARPA funding sources. Another success with this type of funding were the Santa Fe townhomes a little farther to the west on 5th Street, across from Dillon's, and they stay full all the time. So it is much needed. Years ago in 2018, when we were working on the CDBG grant, we spent a lot of time with major employers and people, and I think USD 308 was adding somewhere around 50 plus new teachers a year, and that was just the one school district. So I think there'll be plenty of need and plenty of opportunity here, and would put us in position to not only add 50 plus doors in houses and duplex, and then another 40 plus in apartment loft type styles. So that's 100 units. It's been a long time for us to accumulate 100 units. So it's really, really important and a really good project, and I ask for your support.
Thank you. Unless anyone has any questions for Jim, I would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the request by Hutch Landmark Project for a resolution of support to submit a moderate income housing ARPA state-funded developer-led grant application and accept, if awarded, the funding, and then enter into a development agreement with Hutch Landmark Project to build the units and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a second resolution that would support other critical pieces to the project. If you remember, part of the Strawn project was being built in what was called an RHID district, Rural Housing Investment District, which is another tool to make housing happen and make it more affordable to the community. Until this year, it was basically tracts of ground and new build, but the state added another tool to the toolbox, which is really, really important for downtown, and it's called a vertical RHID. So it allows for the monies to help develop the upper floors. So again, great timing, great tool. And so I would ask that you would support this resolution also. It would also include some IRB work as part of the development agreement as part of the project.
I have a question. When we were voting on the RHID funds for Strawn's project, it was mentioned that the next time those funds would come available would be 2024. Is this a completely separate fund or pool since this is a vertical project?
I believe this would have an opportunity because it is, a different use of the RHID funds and specific to a downtown project.
So this doesn't diminish the availability of that other type of funds for the next year, correct? That you know of? Okay.
Can you repeat that? Sorry. So we can get it on the record. That was very quick. I couldn't interrupt you.
I believe that it's, the RHID will not actually start and go into effect until the project is complete and it's assessed for property tax value. So that's when, and they'll be completed at different timeframes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions on this item? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I will move motion to accept and approve amend a resolution stating the governing body of Hutchinson supports and approves the redevelopment of MIH moderate income housing in downtown Hutchinson, and furthermore supports the use of vertical rural housing incentive district and industrial revenue bond programs to make this project feasible, and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I got a question so the public don't get this confused. This has nothing to do with our ARPA funds that come to the city of Hutch. It's totally different.
These are state funds.
That is correct. That's good.
Because I know they're gonna be screaming at me. They're gonna interfere with the ARPA funds that come to us, so it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Good clarification.
Good.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? If not, please call roll.
Garza?
Yes.
Conklin?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Fast?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 9, report of city officials.
Mr. Garza, would you start us off?
Yes, sir, I sure will. First of all, I want to make sure the police department and the public works division know how much we appreciate you guys. Just like they said about the police department, they're out there 24 hours a day representing our city. I know I worked in public works. You guys are out there 24 hours a day too. And just so you know, we do appreciate you being out there, knowing that you guys are maintaining our streets. Also with the police department, it makes us a great city. And I do, from my bottom of my heart, appreciate everything you guys do. Second of all, tonight, if I know I pushed this, but I need people to come to the youth council meetings at 6 o'clock right here. Please come and show them their support. Those young people work hard. They have meetings, and I attend their meetings all the time to get things going for the youth. There's a lot of time youngsters say there's nothing to do. My gosh, youngsters come to the meeting because we're trying to get things to do for the youth around here. So other than that, that's all I got, sir. 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you. Yeah.
Councilman Fass?
Yes, I've had an opportunity to use the city parks a lot lately. Looking good for the most part, but I am curious how many folks you're short, Justin?
Thank you for coming up to the podium unprompted. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning, Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. We're currently short in our horticulture and forestry group. 3 full-time employees, and we don't necessarily count the number of seasonals because the hours vary so much. So we don't have a set number of seasonals. We don't hire, say, 15. We just try to fill all the gaps we can. So we definitely have open positions everywhere for seasonal help. So we are behind where we typically are for seasonals. So if anybody's interested, our website, they're all posted there. We are starting to see the high school and college age folks start to apply and get on board, so we'll be in better shape here in the next few weeks. So, but we are running behind already. So.
You said high school. What's the age of the high school? You have to be 18?
We have a few positions for 16-year-olds, very few of those. Primarily it's 18 and over. So.
No, 16 can they run lawnmowers and stuff like that?
Small equipment, yeah, they can't operate a vehicle.
I have a grandson, that's what I mean. Okay.
Well, Justin, I appreciate it. And there was an army of people downtown, and those were volunteers, correct?
The vast majority of them planting our downtown flowers. And we have 3, I think, city employees on our horticulture crew, and then the rest were all volunteers. Yep.
They do look nice, though.
They really do.
Yeah.
And I mean, most people don't realize this. You grow most of those.
We do. Yeah, that's something that comes up every year, every other year. People see the cost of flowers at retail, and they think that's what the city's spending on flowers. We buy our flowers as little tiny plugs for 8 to 10 cents a piece, and then we grow them all in our greenhouse. Our cost for a 6-inch potted plant is about between $1 and $1.50, and that includes the pot and the soil and the plug, as opposed to that's a $7 or $8 plant at retail. So.
Well, thank you for your work, and I've been purposely enjoying the pickleball court, the trail, which we can talk about the trail later. There's some suggestions I might have,
Okay.
but we live in a good place, and there are some very nice parks and areas that people are using and should use.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoy this time of year when I start seeing people out in the parks again. So
Thank you, Justin. I think that's all I have. We're continuing to plan the Southwest Bricktown Fiesta, and that planning is going well. Food trucks, bands, very similar. It'll be the 3rd annual. A lot of fun, and it's really fun to see people planning and talking that through. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Mayor. Excuse me.
Councilman.
I have nothing to add.
All right. Councilwoman Goss.
I had a chance to go to Herman and Helen Bunty Park. Construction is underway out there, or at least some trees were removed. I believe they were diseased, and there's going to be new equipment up there soon. Tonight is the Bike Walk Hutch May meetup at 5:30. The starting point is at the zoo, and that is open to all ages, and encourage people to attend. I reiterate what you guys said about the parks being beautiful and everything being just really beautiful this time of year. We enjoy getting out. That's it.
All right. Thank you. I have a few things to say. I've been pleasantly challenged by a few people to make some remarks in regards to an upcoming event for Salt City Pride in June, and there are definitely different opinions within our community on the event, but I would like to reiterate that the council takes an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I believe that puts us in a position that not only are we here to say defend people's use and protections under the Constitution, that people should celebrate their ability to use the Constitution and what's provided to them by the rights of the Constitution. I'm really disappointed in some of the rhetoric that's going on in our community. I think we have people that are staying quiet that have level heads that I think they need to speak up. This is not a topic or a social use or social topics are not a strong point of mine. I would much rather discuss water rights and budget, but I feel like I am in a position that maybe I should say something. I would like some of the people that are causing negative rhetoric to knock it off. I would like some community leaders that feel strongly on each side that are willing to listen to other points of view to step up and make it known that they're willing to communicate. We're about a month away from multiple events happening on the same weekend, and it would be embarrassing to our community and to anyone associated with any cause to do anything that is less than upstanding and responsible on behalf of the rest of the citizens in our community. And that's as close as I can get to a prepared statement on something like this. I have nothing else to add. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to comment?
I do. Just a couple things. On behalf of our finance director, council members need to look at your calendars to see when you are available for a CIP and MRF discussion. We should have done that about a week ago, and so we really need to get after that because that's one of the first steps in getting the budget into place. So please check your calendars, and if you would just email back to me availability.
Do you have a proposed date or?
Well, we don't have a proposed date. I mean, I could tell you as soon as possible, but that wouldn't work. And staff will be flexible with you. If we would need to do it in an evening, for example, to make it easier for the council members to get there, whatever it takes. But please check your schedules for that, and we will make sure that happens.
What's the date? You said as soon as possible. Would tacking it on before or after our May 23rd joint meeting and just changing locations be an option? Or do you need something before then?
On May 23rd?
We have a tentative joint meeting.
Well, and I was going to talk about those other meetings as well.
Sorry.
If you're available, that would, I mean, you're probably get into the afternoon and those of you who have been in that meeting before, it's pretty lengthy. I think we do what, a couple hours?
We would do that after the meeting, after the lunch meeting with the county, or before?
If that makes sense.
It's a study session type meeting, so it's not broadcast. It's a discussion, and the department directors come in and visit with you about their projects.
Yeah.
Do we want to say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Because I think we need to set a time that afternoon.
Yeah.
Let's say 3 o'clock. Does that work?
It works for me, yeah.
Tuesday at 3
May
o'clock?
23rd at 3?
Well, wait a second, John, or Mayor. We're getting done with the other meeting at 1:30 or 2. Do we need that much time in between? It seems like a waste of time if we're going to go.
If we're going to expect other department heads to schedule,
Gotcha.
I think we need to have a firm time.
I think that's important.
That's why I was shooting for 3 o'clock.
Okay, that way we're for sure there.
Does that work for either
Yes.
one of you?
May 23rd at 3 then?
Yes.
Okay. I will inform Angela and all the department heads of that. I thank you for your cooperation. And then, yes, it was just a reminder about the other meetings that are reflected at the bottom of the agenda. Just talked about the joint city-county meeting. On June 6th, you have a council meeting, but there's an airport stakeholders meeting that evening at 5:30. I'm not sure that requires the entire council for that, but it is available because it will be here at City Hall. And the joint city rec meeting is on Tuesday, June 13th at 9 a.m. here at City Hall. That is a non-city council meeting Tuesday. And that's all I had. I have one more thing with the fire chief, but I think he needs to make his own announcement. He may not be ready for somebody else to do that for him.
Oh.
Any questions of me?
June 13th, what time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. It's at the bottom.
Okay.
Here at City Hall, 9 a.m.
Okay.
All right. The next item would be an executive session. This is executive session in regards to non-elected personnel matters. Do you 45 minutes or an hour? Should we say 11:15? I'm asking the team. We'll start with an 11:15. All right. I would accept a motion on that.
I move to recess into executive session. Do I need to read the rest?
Please do.
Pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 75-4319B1 in order to discuss matters involving a city employee. The open meeting to resume in the city council chambers at 11:15 a.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? If not, please call roll.
Garza.
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. Mr. Brown, would you care to join us with some questions real quick? until 11:40.
Do we need to take roll call right now or anything?
We need to,
I'll second that.
all right.
Sorry, who made the motion?
John.
I said I would entertain.
Oh, I'll make the motion to extend until 11:40.
A second.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Second.
Please call roll.
And it is for the same basis as the original, which was not elected personnel matters exception.
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. want to make sure we're back in open session and recording. All right. All right, we're back in open session. I would entertain a motion to terminate employment with Mr. Kendall Francis for cause as outlined in his employee contract for violations of city's employee handbook.
I move to terminate the employment of Mr. Kendall Francis with cause according to violations of the employee handbook.
Second.
All right, let's have some discussion, please. Mr. Francis, would you please come forward? Do you have any questions or comments in regards to the motion?
Well, I guess my first obvious question is specifically, what did I violate?
The investigation found that there were no less than 2 issues in regarding to the policy 401 in regards to creating or contributing to an unproductive work environment, participating in or allowing horseplay, and at least 1 incident in regards to leering that could be considered leering, whistling, or physical contact such as touching in policy 402 under anti-harassment.
Okay.
If you would like me to go into more detail on those, I can.
No, let me go into some detail.
Please, sir.
So 2.5 weeks ago, I was placed on administrative leave for an accusation of sexual harassment. It's clear that that was unfounded, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten to this point. You've had multiple executive sessions. You would have terminated me much quicker than this if that had been true. Specifically, what I was told was that I touched a cold can of pop to a female employee's cheek. I also, at a different time, pulled the name badge of the same employee that was on a retractable clip, and I walked by it and gave it a tug and let it go. The investigation you mentioned, I spent 2.5 hours visiting with that investigator. Approximately 20 minutes of that was questions revolving around those 2 incidents. The other 2 hours were spent chasing down rabbit holes such as, why did I move my office from one side of the building to the other? Why do I allow my dog to come to work? What is the morale in the police department? Why, or please describe my working relationship with the HR director, and why did I not include him in the hiring of a community development director? Information was also brought forth from an executive session, or said to be from an executive session, pertaining to the termination of Chief Hooper and whether or not we offered a severance to him. And most concerning to me was the fact that I was questioned as to where my wife and family lived and why had they not moved to Hutchinson. So you say that you've been able to not take those things into account, but clearly someone put that investigator down on those complaints. Now, it either originated with you 5 or it originated somewhere in the city. Because I know of the 5, 6, 7, 8 people who were in that executive session. So if it didn't come from you, it came from either Paul Brown, myself, which it did not, or Tom Sanders. Because there were also complaints as to why I was not working with Tom Sanders in hiring a community development director. My guess is it came from Tom Sanders. And it's clear to me that you've used this opportunity to find a way to get rid of me because I had started doing something against the old boy network, so to speak. and it made people uncomfortable. I'm just telling you, as long as that's continued to be allowed here, you're not going to have any success finding the next city manager. You're not going to have any success moving forward as an organization, as a community. And shame on you guys for bending to that. There were options available to you besides termination that were solid options that would allow this organization to continue to be productive, and we have been productive in the 5 months that I've been here. Make no mistake of that. Had I changed some things? Did I ruffle some feathers? Absolutely. Could better communication be in place? I think there's always room for improvement, and I own that. There's fears of retaliation on my part against employees. I tried to assure you that was not an option. That was not going to happen. I even gave you the option to do a trial period, a probationary period, to prove to you that I was telling the truth and changes were being made. You chose not to take that option. I'm disappointed. I'm sad for this community because it is a great community and it has a lot to offer, but it needs leadership. And it's lacked leadership for a long time, and now it's going to continue to lack leadership. I'm thankful to the team that I was able to work with. They're outstanding. Like I said, I'm disappointed. I wish the results could have been different.
I can appreciate those thoughts. I'll share that I think your approach to management and the possibility of ruffling feathers is not in question. I tend to like the way you handle yourself in regards to being assertive and getting out there and getting things done and getting out in the community. You and I have discussed your interview and how it was about 20 minutes that pertained to something that was relevant, and it was about 2 hours of miscellaneous stuff that had nothing to do with the matter that was in question. And I agree with that, and I shared that with the group multiple times in regards to areas of concern in regards to employment policy and areas of concern that are just not part of the matter. The city manager is expected to operate in a manner that is above reproach. I have concerns in regards to how you manage employees, and I know you've addressed this with a plan. After the bell has been rung, you can't unring it. I also have concerns for employees that while it didn't rise to the level of unlawful sexual harassment, it is in direct violation of harassment in our employee handbook, and it is discreetly listed on what is not allowed. And that's what's in question. Everything else is noise. I would ask if anyone else has questions for Mr. Francis or comments.
I'd like to point out that the multiple executive sessions that we've held are in no way reflective of a disregard to the seriousness of these allegations, nor should they be misconstrued as a division of the council. Rather, they reflect that we are unpaid volunteers who are balancing our personal duties, our work duties, family duties, with the duties of holding office. And this has been a challenge, and we have invested a good amount of time into this consideration.
Kendall, I want you to know and rest assured that there were two things that I considered in my decision, or that I have considered, and that's the two incidents that you started out with. That other stuff, that I thought you did a good job. You've done a couple things. I've been very impressed with your leadership and many other things that you've done, and I appreciate you moving as we ask you to move.
Mr. Kendall, I am disagree with this. I think we should give you another chance. I think you're a tremendous leadership. Just like we have employees that make mistakes, you're human just like the rest of our employees. And I don't think you should be fired. I think you should be given another chance. And I'm a different person. I believe when someone's getting done wrong, I stand up for them, and I still stand up for it today, and I stand up for you.
Thank you.
So I think it can be fixed, Mr. Kendall. If I can get my phone. Okay.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Francis?
No, we have exhausted the whole gamut of everything. I also believe it can be fixed, and I don't believe it's. I believe that there was mistakes, but not serious mistakes. But they were mistakes. But he's done a good job, and that he can lead going forward. And I have expressed that, and I'm in agreement with Mr. Garza that that is the situation. And I also, would hope that maybe somebody else will change their mind.
Thank you.
And you hit something on really good. The good old boy. It's got to be stopped. Got to be stopped.
Do you have anything else to add to this, Mr. Francis?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
There's something I'd like to add. I feel like if we were looking at a situation where Kendall's position were either a younger no offense, a younger person, a new grad, less experience, did not hold the degrees and certifications that you do, and were not in a management position, according to the handbook, managers need to be above reproach, and your behavior does not indicate that. I don't believe that we've expected too much of you. I believe that we've expected the appropriate amount of behavior in line with the handbook, and not following those guidelines would be detrimental.
Any comment to that?
No.
All right. Any other comments, questions among the group?
Guys, I just think we're losing a good opportunity here. And I don't know what else to say. I can't convince you, so I don't know what to say.
All right. There is a motion, and it's been moved and seconded. If there's no other discussion, please call roll.
Garza,
No.
Conklin,
No.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Please call roll.
Garza,
Yes.
Conklin,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast,
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.